Hi, here we are. I'm in Italy, and as promised, tonight we're going to talk about the digital nomad visa that everyone's been waiting for in Italy. It was actually ratified in February, and it's going to roll out in the next few months. So tonight, my task is to give you a little taste of it, what the legislation is, what the requirements are, because tons of people obviously want to come to Italy on the digital nomad visa. If you haven't joined us before, my name is Amanda. I live in Italy, and I speak about living in Italy, the beautiful life that we have here. Lots of people want to come to Italy, and I try to cover the things that I know from having lived here for many years, and that make it easier for people to wade through all the red tape and the bad advice they get on various platforms. So anyway, here we are. Let's start. So if you haven't subscribed yet, you need to do that because it helps me enormously on the channel to make videos, to make content you want. If you subscribe and you can give me a like, that's great. You can hit the like button right now. And leave me a comment if you'd like to ask something that goes without saying, or if you just enjoyed the video. I really appreciate getting your comments. So let's get right into this because there's a bit to cover. Okay, so the digital nomad visa, as I mentioned, I'm going to read the legislation. So after years of waiting, we finally got this thing that everybody said, I can't come on the elector visa. I'm not retired. I don't have a passive income. I don't have pension and social security. But I'd love to come and work online. I already have my business set up wherever I am now, presently. Could be the States, could be Australia, could be in Europe, could be anywhere. And I'd love to come and work in Italy on a digital nomad visa. Okay, so it's a decree that was published on the 25th of February. It's decree number 25, on the 28th of February this year, just fresh. It's known as the Decreto Sostegni Ter, so that's its formal name. The decree qualifies as a digital nomad, a citizen of countries outside of the European Union. So obviously, if you're a European person, if you wanted to work here, your only requirement would be to register for tax and to register in the Comune as a resident. So digital nomads who are European don't have this issue. So outside of the European Union, who performs highly specialized work through the use of technology, so it is specific, that allow him or her to work remotely, either as a freelancer or as a collaborator for a company, or as an employee of a company, who may also be non-resident in Italian territory. Okay, what are the visa requirements? Minimum income, 28,000 euros per year. I think that's pretty fair. I mean, that's quite a low amount for someone to earn if you're going to live in Italy and you're going to rent a place. I mean, obviously, if you already own a place, that makes it slightly different. But to rent a place and have enough money to live and all the other things you're going to have to pay for, I think 28 is very modest. They do say that this amount is not set in stone and it's open to, like everything, to interpretation from consulate to consulate. So you would obviously apply for this in your country of residence. So it's not set in stone, but let's look at 28,000 to 30,000 a year. That's the figure. Number 2, health insurance. You need health insurance to cover the entire duration of your stay. We'll talk about the duration of the stay of the visa, the initial visa. Proof of housing solution. So you either have to have a rental agreement, you either have to have a property purchase if you're lucky enough to own a home in Italy. A lot of people do own a home in Italy and they haven't been able to live here permanently. They've been doing the Schengen shuffle, jumping back and forth because they did not have residence to live here. So this solution may suit quite a lot of people who really have a home in Italy, so they don't have to get a rental agreement, and they would like to work remotely. Obviously, you have to prove that you're not just, I don't know, fiddling around on the internet. It has to be proven work that's paid. Okay. So as I mentioned, you need this proof of housing. They mention property use. So in the case where you were living with somebody, preferably an Italian, who would vouch for you, they would have to sign a declaration saying, this person lives with me, I am responsible for them. They have health insurance, etc. So there is some fluidity, but you either need a rental agreement, a property purchase, or an Italian local to vouch that you are living with them in whatever relationship you have with them. Proof of work, experience in that mode. So this is very important because people say, what is this proof of work? So you need to prove that you've done contracts, and you need a minimum of 6 months of this proof of the work that you've done as a digital nomad existing. This means that you would have the whole thing, maybe some of the contracts that you've signed, maybe some bank records proving, or receipts or invoices that you've done for the 6 months work. So as much information as you can give there, better. It can't just be willy-nilly, well, I did that and I did that, okay? This is just my interpretation, but I've been here, done it, got the t-shirt myself when I first started in Italy many years ago. So I know, they need actual proof. For this immigration program, it's necessary to apply to your consular office abroad. So you need a statement along with a copy of your personal ID. The worker must apply for a residence permit at the police headquarters, so the questura, in the province where he or she is located within 8 days of arriving. So let's say you get the visa, everything's good, you've gone to your consulate, it's all rubber stamped, you arrive in Italy. Within 8 days, you have to go to the questura and announce your presence, and digital nomad remote worker will be given to you as a permit of stay. The permit of stay for this digital nomad visa is valid for 1 year, because people will want to know that. If somebody wants to do timestamps on this video, I'm covering everything in the first 10 minutes of the legal stuff, and then we'll talk about it randomly. So if you need to watch the first 10 minutes of this to get what you need, obviously. Family members of the digital nomad have the right to join obtaining a residence permit for family reunification. So once you have successfully done this, got it, plugged in Italy here, you've gone to the questura, you've got it all rubber stamped, and you're living here and you're working here, whatever, there is this family reunification. We'll talk about that a bit later. For workers, bilateral social security agreements will be applied if they exist between Italy and their country of origin. So in other words, you're going to have to pay towards some local social security situation, or prove that you have one in your country of origin. So in case of absence of such agreements, Italian rules on social security and insurance coverage will apply for the entire period of the validity of the residence permit. So you will have to actually make contributions to social security if you don't have that in your origin country. As far as self-employed persons are concerned, digital nomads will be able to apply for a VAT number. So when you get here and you want to work here and get contracts, you will get a VAT number, and you will be able to charge VAT on your invoices after the visa has been issued. So that's the nuts and bolts of what has been issued as a decree by the Italian government. Lots of people will be super excited about this. I'm excited about this because quite a few people that I have been chatting to and helping just have been banging their head against a brick wall because they don't in some way qualify for the elective visa. They're not retired. They want to work. They work online, and a lot of them work very successfully online, but they want to come to Italy either to stay in their home or to rent a place. So let's go back to the Italian dream, because that's important. I managed to cover that in 10 minutes. That's a miracle. Anyway, we're going to keep this video to 20 minutes if possible, because we're all busy. But I really wanted to get this out and get it done because it's fresh off the press and everyone wants to know. And so let's look at this as a situation. So let's say that you've been dreaming of coming to Italy. You've had a company working as a digital nomad. Maybe you've been in the East. Maybe you've lived in Bali, as many people do. But your dream and your wish is to come to Italy. Or it could be anywhere that you've been working as a digital nomad, or maybe you worked 6 months here and then you went 6 months there. And if you did own a home in Italy, you were subject to that 90-day story, and you don't want to shingle and shuffle anymore. You'd love to apply for this. And if you meet these requirements that I just listed for you, then you can certainly, that could be an answer for you. And it looks good. From what I see at the moment, it looks good. Might there be a few little kinks to iron out? Undoubtedly, because with every visa that has come about in Italy, there's the fine-tuning that usually happens. And please remember, it is always subject to interpretation by your local consulate, because they're your first port of call. They're the people you're going to have to go to with all your bits of paper, and they obviously can be very kind and very nice and very enabling, or they can just put up a steel wall in front of you and say, hey, no, this doesn't wash. So that always has to be taken into consideration. And everything I might say as your local Italian here on the ground, trying to help people who realize the Italian dreams, one always has to bear that in mind. But let's look at that. It looks super positive from my point of view. I don't see anything that could derail this going ahead. And so I guess I'm going to get a million questions. Please let me have in the comments. And let's just talk about life in Italy here. So in most of my videos, and you can go back and have a watch, I've covered the elective visa, I've covered dual citizenship, which a lot of people look at either through naturalization or because they're a descendant of Italian grandparents, great-grandparents, etc. There is a requirement with dual nationality for the language aspect. So I've spoken about this in just about all my videos, and this one isn't going to be an exception, that you do need language skills. Please don't think, okay, I'm going to come and work and live in Italy. I don't need to learn the language, blah, blah, blah. I'll just get by. I can just point when I need a cappuccino, or I can just do that. Please, I urge you, if you're going to integrate, and even if it's just for a year, or you might renew it after a year and you might stay here for a long time, and lots of us do, if we are able, you need Italian language skills. So I urge you right now, if it's your plan to come to Italy and you're planning in the future, and this is a possible route for you, straight away start learning online, start doing an exchange program with somebody that you know that can give you Italian lessons, and you can start speaking before you even get here, so that you can have a basic conversation. Because believe me, the minute you get here and you walk into the Questura to have your residence permit sorted, or you talk to your landlord, landlady who you're renting from the minute you actually get your little feet off the plane, Italian is going to be needed. And people often say to me, well, surely most people speak English in Italy. Well, I mean, I'd like to think that's true to some element, but most people really suffer if they cannot speak the language, because why should they actually bend over backwards? They may be able to speak a bit of English with you, and perhaps the first occasion and the second occasion socially they will go ahead with that. But then it wears thin a bit, because you need to actually get down and do stuff. You need to discuss stuff, you need to explain yourself, and maybe you're just not understandable to the Italian that you're trying to explain your problem to. So I urge you, please, in whatever way, if you have fallen in love with Italy, and goodness knows so many of us do, it has beautiful architecture. I have traveled the length and breadth of Italy in my 20 plus years here. I've been to every corner of Italy. I still do. The train travel is very affordable and great, and it's one of the things that I'm really appreciative in Italy. And I'm also a citizen of UK, and people often ask me, make the comparison between UK and Italy. And I would say right now, if I had to cast a vote, I live here, obviously, permanently, but I do know the UK very well, because, generally, at least every 6 months in the past, before COVID, I was there. I would say that, a lot of the things that UK people took as really sacrosanct and what they would need for life aren't there anymore. So Italy is very attractive. It has wonderful small towns and villages, or big cities. And you can choose whatever lifestyle you want in Italy. If you want to live down in the south and have a nice garden and be near the sea, you can do that, provided you have the money, of course. And there are places that are more affordable. There's also places under the Italian scheme that want to resettle areas that perhaps aren't as popular anymore with Italians, and there's a 7% tax dispensation, so that could be really good for you if you love one of those towns, and we can talk about that in another video, obviously. But if that's what you want to take advantage of, then that could be a really good way for you to find the place where you can settle in Italy. I live in the most beautiful town, an hour from Milan. I have Lake Maggiore at my doorstep. I literally can tumble 5 meters out of my house, and there's the exquisite lake, the beautiful mountains that are snow-covered. I have towns like Stresa, Isola Bella, Isola Pescatore, Isola Madre, the beautiful Borromean Islands are near me. I can go to Verbania by boat, quickly have a coffee with a friend. I can take a quick train into Milan if I have a meeting or someone to meet for lunch, because I've worked in Milan for 20 years. So if you want to know something about Milan, ask me, I know. I've worked in every little corner of Milan over the years. Yes, there's so much. Let's not even talk about the food, the buying of the food. Last week, I did my whole weekend, my week's grocery shop, and the costs involved, what I eat. Because people want to know, they maybe come from the States and they find it very expensive, or Australia or UK, wherever you're coming from outside of Europe, and they find that the Italian diet is lovely. There's so much lovely, delicious fresh produce. The fruit is so juicy and tasty, and it's all there. We have markets. I have a market here on Tuesday. I can buy everything from my fruit and vegetables to shoes, to suitcases, to luggage, to clothing, to whatever I need for my house. It's all there. I can do it all at the market. People love the Italian markets. Yeah, I have to say that sometimes when you've been living a certain lifestyle for a while, you don't really realize all the benefits. But I'm very cognizant and very aware of how lucky I am to be in Italy and to live where I do. Obviously, if you're living in one of the big cities, the rent would be more. Milan is a huge center for universities. It has 5 or 6 big universities. That's not mentioning all the other private institutions. They all have students every year, students coming from the European Union, students coming from all over the world to study in Milan. And Rome has a similar thing. Or Rome is on a smaller scale business-wise, because it's mostly administration and all the legislation and the parliament, everything is done in Rome, and Milan is considered more the city of business, where the stock market is and the bourse, and where a lot of companies, international companies, have their head office in Milan, because strategically it's easy. Italy is a very long country. It's not the biggest country in the world, but it's pretty huge, and people underestimate how different the climate can be from the north to the middle to the south. But it has this spiny spine down the middle. So most of the population, the intense population, is along the coast, obviously, and it has long coast because it's a big old boot. So it's got the wide part at the top, and then it comes down to the heel over here, and then the boot, and Basilicata, Puglia, and then we come up to Campania, and on, and then Rome, in all the little towns of Lazio that you could choose from, and then we come into the southern part of Tuscany and the coasts, and then the mountainous parts of Tuscany, northern Tuscany, with beautiful towns like, you know, Lucca and Sassana and Pisa, and I mean, you're spoiled for choice. You have the mountains, you have the sea. If you wanted to live in a little mountain town, Gafagnana, the area near Lucca, is beautiful. I could go on for hours about all the beautiful little towns you can live. But if you have a town in mind and you want to ask me what I think, for what it's worth, I'm happy. Leave me a comment. I want to know, I'm interested where you might be looking at. There are certain towns that always attract certain people because everyone talks about them, and therefore, you know, everyone knows about them. But obviously Rome is always super popular, and around Rome there's lovely towns like Orte, and gosh, there's so many lovely towns just north of Rome, that you could, maybe Viterbo, that you could look at. So whatever zone you're looking at. I also happen to love the mountainous area of Trentino, which is more east from me. So there's Lake Como, Lake Maggiore, then Garda, and as you go east, towns like Verona, towns going toward the Veneto, Venice itself, and then down the lovely Marche coast, where towns like Ancona. So whatever area you want to be in, it might be Abruzzo, which is just down from that, a mountainous area that has beautiful little towns, is more affordable, and you could perhaps get a piece of land if that's your desire, and a house that you could reconstruct. So whatever plan you have in mind, Italy can fit your budget. It really can. What I try and say to people is, be realistic. I mean, you're not going to just fall into an under the Tuscan sun villa that's just waiting for you to open the doors and renovate it. And also be realistic, because a lot of people who didn't, fall under the spell of Under the Tuscan Sun when the movie came out, and even before that, the book. The point is that Frances Mays lived and worked as a university employee, and so did her partner, for years and years and years, while this house was being renovated during their holidays. There was an income there. It wasn't just, oh, well, we'll just come here and do this. Obviously, there are wealthy people who can just give up everything and just come and buy a villa and renovate it. But this Under the Tuscan Sun dream, it needs a little bit of few drops of realism in it. And eventually, obviously, now they're retired and they're very wealthy off the proceeds of the book, the film, and the subsequent books. But in the beginning, it was just that little escape, and it took years to realize this dream. So I think people's realistic expectations can always be, Italy welcomes all of this. Italy welcomes millions of tourists. It is a destination everyone wants to come to. But if you're one of those who wants more than just that holiday every now and then, and you've fallen in love with successive visits, you can come. And now we have the digital visa. So I'm going to keep this short because I promised to. And if you have some questions on the digital nomad visa, let me know, or any other, and I can point you to my videos. I'll link up the other videos I've done about visas in Italy up the top there. Please like the video. Please let me have your comments. Let me have any questions you might have about the digital nomad visa. And I'll see you on the next one, because next week we will cover some other aspects of life in Italy and settling in here, buying property, what you need to look at, what legislation might affect you, healthcare, all of this stuff. So from Amanda here in Italy on this Saturday night, I've just got a lovely ragu. We're going to have spaghetti with ragus this evening, and I look forward to talking to you on the next one from beautiful Italy. And let me know what you think in the comments. See you on the next one. Bye for now. Till the next time. Keep the dream alive. Bye for now. Bye.